Welcome to the Saints Sports Corner. We got a great show for today. We're going to be talking about if the Saints will be a better run game without Alvin Kamara. We also going to be talking about the type of talent the Saints need to take the next step on offense. We got a lot more of that on the Saints Sports Corner.
Yeah. Who that? Who that? Who that said they gon' beat them Saints? A win is a win by a mile or an inch. It's any given Sunday when we battling in the trenches. Who that? We that? Who that? We that? Die hard even after an L. Still reppin' in my section, yelling outside the dome, going home. Who that? We that? Black and gold soul, that's my song. Who that? We that? Who that? We that? Touchdown Saints putting points on the board is how my squad steady winning. Sacks on D, turnovers, wow, don't even think about. Coming back, it's already late in the fourth now. We that, who that, we that, who that, who that, who that. 4,000-yard QB, 1,000-yard rusher, 1,200-yard receiver, straight pressure. Lockdown corner, throw that ball if you want to. TFL's in the backfield, boy, we on you. Black and gold, so that's what I'm all about. Forget about the division, the Saints run the South. Who that, we that. Who that? We that? Who that? Who that? Who that? Who that? Who that? Who that?
Welcome in, Saints fans. You already know what it is, man. You already know what it is. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you are subscribed, please hit that like button. But without further ado, let's just dive right in. There's a lot of chatter going on around the New Orleans Saints, man. A lot of people talking about the Saints run game. A lot of people focusing on the Saints run game. They're talking about how Alvin Kamara can be a cut candidate, how Alvin Kamara has taken a step back. But we really need to dive in and analyze what's really going on when it comes to the Saints in the running game. As far as the Saints not creating the necessary holes it needed to create for Alvin Kamara to be able to produce the type of running and rushing between the tackles that the Saints needed for him to be a more favorable, a more productive running back. Early in the season, the New Orleans Saints struggled. Everybody knew that. The offensive line was horrendous. No matter who the quarterback was, they could not open up the necessary holes on a consistent basis so that Alvin Kamara can actually benefit from the run game. There was a few games where it was spotty, where Alvin Kamara did rush for like 5 yards a clip, where Alvin Kamara actually was doing great on the running game, but Kellen Moore in the play calling wasn't consistent enough and dedicated enough to the run so that Alvin Kamara could run the ball. You fast forward to later in the season where Kellen Moore start running the ball more, then you start to see a change in how the offense was run, and you also start seeing a change of how the Saints ran the football. So when they say that Alvin Kamara didn't do a good enough job in the run game, there was a multitude of things that went into not him being an elite rusher or him being a serviceable rusher that the New Orleans Saints can depend on. You can't say in one sense that he wasn't productive when you had a rookie coach and you had a shuffling offensive line in front of him that was stopping him from being productive. Yes, help played a part later in the season, but in the beginning of the season, he was running the ball at an elite clip and he was healthy. But there wasn't enough consistency across the board from all parties involved in order for him to be an elite rusher. Now, when Alvin Kamara has came into this league, he was a serviceable rusher. He's never been the 1,000-yard back like Christian McCaffrey. He's never been a 1,000-yard back like a Deuce or Mark Ingram. He's always shared time and been a mismatch problem, sort of like Darren Sproles and Reggie Bush. But if there was ever a season they could have depended on Alvin Kamara, it would have been this season. Last season. The problem with it is there was too many things going on. There was too many loopholes in the offense that was deterring him from being an elite rusher. And to blame it on him and say he's the reason why the New Orleans Saints was at the bottom when it came to rushing is unfair. It's very unfair, man. Alvin Kamara can run the ball. Is he the type of running back that always make nothing out of something? No. But if you give him the lane, he can be dangerous. We've seen that throughout his career. The problem is the Saints didn't open up enough lanes for him to get in between the tackles. And I think a lot of the times they didn't bounce it out enough for him to use his rushing ability and his elite quickness either. So to give up and to say that he is not what the Saints need or he should be a cut candidate is foolish. Now, if you can get a substantial pick back for Alvin Kamara, I'm not against that at all because the Saints need picks. You can't be against acquiring assets for older players. But to say he's not serviceable, it's just unfair, right? It's just unfair. And I think he can be a guy who can help a Jeremiah Love if they was to draft Jeremiah Love to take some of the pressure off him early. Now, I'm not sure if that's the route they would go, being that they got so many backs. Devin Neal, you got all of these backs. Kendrick Miller, is he coming back? It's so many. It's a logjam at running back. So that's why I have yet to mock Jeremiah Love. Would he be a piece for the Saints? Yes, he can be. But we got to be realistic about how we handle it. Now, if they get rid of Alvin Kamara, if they do decide to get rid of Alvin Kamara, then it's a no-brainer at 8 if he makes it to 8. Because, the Saints and obvious just does not go together. We'll be sitting here waiting for the Saints to pick him and boom, somebody will jump him like the Kansas City Chiefs, like they did for Pat Mahomes. Go figure. Or we be sitting there waiting and somebody take him that we didn't expect to see him take him and the Saints are just right there. Now, they're in a great spot to get a great player no matter what, an impact player no matter what. The problem with it is they may not get the impact player that you want. Like Jeremiah Love is only going to generate more buzz the closer and closer we get to the combine. Running backs are no longer a thing in the past. They're starting to come back slowly but surely. If you think for 1 second that the performance of the Super Bowl is not going to have an impact on the rest of the NFL, you're crazy. The Seattle Seahawks ran the freaking ball at an elite clip, and teams are going to be looking to do the same. So the return of the running back is here. It's about to start again. So you better have your serviceable running back when playoff time comes. You see what happened to the Houston Texans? No run game, early exit. Teams that need a runner usually exits first when it comes to playoff contention. If the Saints have any playoff aspirations, they should not be sitting on and resting on their laurels thinking that they hope to have a running back that's healthy. Or they hope that one of the stable backs can absolutely tote the rock. Now, if they do have that belief, I have no problem with it. Like I said, there's so much potential in some of the backs that the Saints have. And Neal, Miller, Kamara, there's a Estime. Estime showed his behind the last few games. So, look, we just have to be honest about the situation and realize that the Saints have a rare opportunity to do so many different things, and we should be excited about it, especially with the combine coming. Now, I would say we should not wait to get a runner. We should address this way before playoff contention ever starts, if that's our goal. The Saints are in prime position to lead the South. The Saints are in prime position to run the South. The Saints are in prime position to be a playoff team in the 26-27 season. But it's going to take a lot more than that running game because everything starts up front. We can't kid ourselves with that. Everything starts up front. Every freaking thing starts up front. So to kind of make Alvin a scapegoat is unnecessary. Let's fix that offensive line, solidify that offensive line. Then let's have a conversation if he's not producing. Until then, it is everything you say about him is null and void. Because the truth is in the little details, the fine details that nobody wasn't paying attention to or that the mass media won't pay attention to. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Also, Combine's coming up. The Combine is here. It's February. It's the end of February. The Combine's about to start. We're less than a few days away from the Combine starting. You know? So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. That's going to be exciting. That's going to be a tall sign of where a lot of these guys are going to rank pre and post Combine. So there's a lot going on, man. Free agency's about to start soon. So we're going to get a lot of answers. A lot of answers of where the Saints trying to go and what direction they're trying to go. We're going to get a lot of freaking answers, man. But I ain't got much. It's mock draft Monday. As always, it's mock draft Monday. And you know what that means. Mock draft Monday means we got to do a mock draft. We have to sit up here and do a mock draft. And I didn't do one last week. Mardi Gras was last week. It made no sense to do a mock draft. Oh, man, everybody, New Orleans was turned up. There was no reason to sit up here and do anything Saints related. So, but we back. Mardi Gras is over. Fat Tuesday's over. Let's get it. Let's get into our mock draft. Mock draft Monday. You already know what it is. At pick 8, we got the big wide receiver out of Arizona State. Jordan Tyson. This guy is big. He can play the wide receiver's position. He's a prototypical wide receiver at 6'4", 216 pounds. This guy can absolutely get it done. Him and Chris Olave will feed families for the next 5 years. These guys are big time. Wide receiver Jordan Tyson out Arizona State, a guy who has the speed, the size, the athletic range, the high point ability to make catches not only across the middle on the outside, but in the end zone, most importantly. So this guy will help Tyler Shuck's growth and will help the Saints offense stay on time and make the big play catches and also keep defenses honest. So we got at number 8, wide receiver Jordan Tyson. At number 42, we got running back from Nebraska, Emmett Johnson, a guy who can run between the tackle, a guy who has great balance, a guy that can get you 100-yard rushing, a guy that can keep the chains moving. Emmett Johnson, this is if they cut Alvin Kamara. If they cut Alvin Kamara, you got a guy who could come in and replace him just in case you don't go Jeremiah Love at 8. So we got Emmett Johnson from Nebraska, a guy who rushes the ball well, a guy who has balance, a guy who's instinctive, a guy who's a breakout candidate in 2025. Emmett Johnson from Nebraska will be a production pick, a guy who can fill in if you miss out on Kendre Miller and Devin Neal. This is a guy who can get the job done. Emmett Johnson from Nebraska, running back. At number 73. At number 73. At number 73. At number 73, we got Malik Muhammad, the cornerback out of Texas, a guy who can anchor down just in case you lose somebody like Alante Taylor, in case you need another corner, in case you need a lockdown corner. This guy's a lockdown corner. This guy, balls didn't even go his way that much. People had a 58% passer rating when they threw his way. This guy is big time. This guy is box office. He can absolutely shut down the field. You need a corner like that. You need a corner like that, especially in the NFC South where you got really good wide receivers. This guy, Elijah Muhammad, can do that. Malik Muhammad can do that. Right now, the Saints still need corners. The Saints still need to upgrade at least one of those corner spots, and this is a guy who can do it. At number 73, you have a guy, Malik Muhammad, that can get the job done. 132nd pick, you got offensive guard from Oklahoma, Fabichi Nwawu. Fabichi Nwawu, a guy who can come in, play, start, fight for minutes, a guy who could be a rotational piece, a guy who could potentially be a starter, a guy who could probably be a starter on day one. We got a guy in Fabichi who can absolutely anchor that middle, who can absolutely help that run game for a guy like Alvin Kamara if you do not trade him, if you do not cut him. We got a guy who can move the power, move a man, and move the pocket. That's Fabichi Nwawu out of Oklahoma, offensive guard. Moving right along. 136th pick. The Saints select Aiden Fisher. Aiden Fisher is a linebacker who helped with that championship run for Indiana. A guy who's a little bit older, but who helped this team, this Indiana team, who anchored this Indiana team in the middle. This guy, Aiden Fisher, can make tackles, can make plays, can diagnose, and can be another guy who you can develop into a piece that could potentially replace Demario Davis if he leaves. So with the 136th pick, the Saints select Aiden Fisher. With the 148th pick, the New Orleans Saints select Michael Taffy. Michael Taffy, the safety out of Arizona, a walk-on who fought for his minutes, who has grit, who has range, who has athleticism, who can get out there and make plays. He's a leader amongst men. He's respected. He fought for everything. This guy can get the job done. Michael Taffy, this guy can absolutely cover. He can make plays, and he can stabilize the back end of your defense. So this is another guy the Saints can get out of Texas. Texas got some defensive backs, man. These guys got a lot of defensive backs. This is another guy who can solidify that safety position, whether it's on special teams, whether it is a safety that the Pelicans is missing from an injury. This is another guy that can get it done. The 148th pick, Michael Taffy, safety out of Texas. The 170th pick, Vincent Anthony, edge out of Duke, a developmental player, a guy you can plug in that outside 3-4 to get on a rotational piece, a guy you can help rush the passer, can help Chase Young, help Cam Jordan, help Granderson rush the passer, a guy you could potentially develop into a potential solid rotational player. That would be Vincent Anthony Jr., edge out of Duke. The last but not least 189th pick, Marlon Klein, tight end out of Michigan. Another pass catcher that you can use in your offense from Michigan. A big body, 6'6", 250-pound tight end that could potentially make you nice, tough, and dirty catches over the middle. Probably not going to be an elite tight end, but he can be a serviceable tight end to make big catches on smaller defenders and to go across the middle and do the dirty work, also block. So for your 189th pick, Marlon Klein is your tight end. That will wrap up the mock draft Monday. Mock draft Monday. Leave your comments and tell me what you think about mock draft Monday. As always, man, you know what it is, man. Your comments on the mock draft, man. Leave me your comments on the reels, whatever it takes, man. You already know what it is. What you think of the mock draft before the combine? Let me know in the comments.